Okay, well, it's a pleasure to see so many faces here today, and just looking at the numbers now, and forgive me if I'm looking at two screens. We've got a new system up and running. I'm still trying to figure out how to work it, but thank you so much for joining us today for what I feel promises to be an interesting panel discussion, leading to, again, what I feel is a really significant milestone in how we work with the sector in the Gulf region. And that is the launching of networks and communities of practice anchored around the professional standards framework, referred to as the PSF, and our fellowship schemes. Before we dive into the detail, I just wanted to cover off some housekeeping. May I kindly ask you to keep your mics turned off or muted, and cameras are optional. Please do type your questions or comments in the chat, and we'll try and pick up as many of these as we can. And there will also be time at the end for a short question and answer session. Today's webinar will be recorded and will be distributed to anyone who's registered for the event. So that's great news. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Christian Rumble, Head of Membership Global at Advance HE. I work closely with Kira. Advance HE is a leading global higher education sector development agency, and we support higher education to be the best it can be across four key areas: teaching and learning, leadership development and capacity building, good governance, and EDI. And my role is really to support our members, to help them to make the most of membership, as well as developing bespoke solutions that enable institutional and student success. The focus of this session is on the teaching and learning element of our work, with specific focus on the professional standards framework and fellowship. And I'm pleased to welcome three distinguished colleagues who make up our panel today. Next slide, please. Dr. Mahinour, Dr. Ola, and Dr. Amal. All three have in-depth knowledge and experience of running fellowship programs, and you'll hear more from them very soon. One of our panelists, Dr. Mahinour, will also be speaking later about the launch of both the Gulf Regional Fellowship LinkedIn Group and the National Network for Senior and Principal Fellows in the UAE. And we're delighted to endorse groundbreaking initiatives today and to welcome expressions of interest to join them, and also to establish other national subgroups. Next slide, please, Kira. Since its inception, the Professional Standards Framework, our benchmark of teaching excellence and fellowship, and that's the global recognition part, has grown in terms of its significance and relevance way beyond expectations. Did you know, for example, that there are over 180,000 fellows spread around the world? And so because of this growth and the importance global higher education was placing on the UK Professional Standards Framework, we took the decision to review the framework in consultation with the sector at large. And as a result of the review, we launched the new PSF in 2023. Noticeable changes included a more global look and feel to the framework and the standards, a focus on sustainability, and a name change to the PSF, dropping the UK from the title and acknowledging the value and contribution to shaping the framework both for and with our colleagues from around the world. If we look at the Gulf region, we can see that over 3,000 colleagues have been recognised as fellows. And if we expand the region out to include neighbouring countries, this figure increases to around 3,500. And this is really impressive. And we've ambitions to continue fellowship growth, especially across the senior and principal fellowship categories. We feel that growth at senior and principal category is really significant because these are the colleagues who are working within roles or positions that can influence policy and strategy, and then for help to raise the profile of teaching and learning across an institution. So it's nearly time for me to hand over to Kira, who will oversee the panel. But before I do, I just wanted to flag some headline points around fellowship and today's session. Firstly, you will hear from a panel of speakers that have one thing in common. They run Advance HE accredited programs, which means they can bestow fellowship on our behalf. You do not need to have an accredited pathway or program within your institution to gain fellowship. You can apply direct, or we have a range of support services that you may wish to take advantage of. And you do not need your university to be a member of Advanced HE. However, if your institution joins us as a member, you receive a 50% discount on fellowship fees and additional discounts on fellowship writing workshops, open programs, and conferences and events. I'm not here to talk to you about institutional membership, but if you'd like to find out more, we can always meet at another time. So I do hope you enjoyed today's session. I know that many of you are keen to hear what our panelists have to say, and I also know that you are keen to contribute to the network and future webinars or in-person fellowship networking events. We're incredibly humbled by the responses received, and we recognise how you want to work collegiately to share best practice, gain recognition, but more importantly, ensure that your professional development endeavours lead to a better student experience and successful student outcomes. Thank you. Kira, over to you.
Thank you, Christian, for the introduction and that background context. We are aware that there is a wide range of backgrounds and ambitions in our audience today, whether you are new to engaging with Advanced HE and this is your first point of contact with fellowship, whether you're a long-standing fellow and considering pursuing a new category, or whether you're considering embedding fellowship and the professional standards framework that it's based upon at your institution. So we hope that we're able to accommodate those needs today. But as Christian said, please do feel free to drop your questions in the chat and we'll try to address as many of those as we can as we go through. So you're all very, very welcome today, no matter where you're joining us from. We do hope you enjoy our upcoming panel session and our network launch. And with no further ado, then I will be very privileged to welcome our panel of experts today, who Christian has mentioned lead the teaching and learning provision and accredited programs by Advanced HE at their respective institutions in the Gulf. They are senior fellows themselves. And they very much, as Christian mentioned, at that level are then leading and influencing the practice and policy of teaching and learning at an institutional level and indeed at a sector level. And through events like this today, we're delighted to be able to platform them and hear their voices. So I'll hand over to them. I'll just do a clockwise loop around my screen, if you don't mind. So the first person on my list is Dr. Mahinour. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Kira. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mahinour Ezzat, and I'm the Manager of Instruction at HCT, Higher Colleges of Technology, Dubai, UAE. And I'm the founder of the Advanced HE Gulf Fellowship Network that we'll be talking about today. We have been running the fellowship programs, basically like supporting our faculty for direct application since 2016. And we have now 2 accredited programs leading to fellowship and advanced and associate fellowship. I can proudly say that HCT leads the UAE and most probably the Gulf region with the highest number of fellows. So right now we have more than 530 fellows, associate fellows, principal fellows, and senior fellows. Thank you to you. I think Dr. Amal.
Thank you, Dr. Mahinour. Thank you, Kira and Christian, for this opportunity. It's a great honor for me to join you today. I'm Dr. Alrayes from the University of Bahrain, and I do have wearing double hats at the university. I work as a director of the Excellence and the Unit for Teaching Excellence and Leadership. And our main mission in the unit is to focus on providing the necessary support and training to the fellow faculty members with the aim of professional development and excellence in teaching practice. We work on innovative strategies and provide knowledge resources to improve the quality of the learning and teaching through our accredited programs with the Advanced HE. We do have 3 accredited programs that lead to the associate and the full fellowship. Also, on the other hand, I also lecture at the College of Information Technology because of my specialization in the field of interactive systems. Today, I look forward to the exchanging of ideas and the experiences with you, and I hope that this session will be very fruitful for everyone. Thank you, Dr. Ola. I'll hand it to you.
Thank you very much. Just want to make sure sound is okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Fantastic. Okay. Hello, everyone. Very, very delighted and honored to be with you this afternoon for this groundbreaking event of launching the Gulf Fellowship Network on LinkedIn. Please allow me to greet you with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am Ola Elshurafa, an academic development consultant, fellowship advisor, and accreditation head at the Program for Excellence in Teaching and Learning, which operates under the umbrella of the Development and Quality Deanship at PNU. And for those of you who are not familiar with PNU, PNU is Princess Nourah Bint Abdulrahman University. It is the largest female university in the world, located in Riyadh, which is the capital of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Just a little bit about PNU. PNU is housed to more than 27,000 students, 2,000 faculty members, and these are across 18 colleges and institutes, over an 8 million meter square campus. More about me is that I'm a senior fellow of Advanced HE, and I have had the honor to support many colleagues at PNU in their fellowship journey. I also led the accredited provision at PNU through a program called the Academic Excellence Program. I have to say, a program which has earned a reputation of excellence and has witnessed a great positive impact on so many PNU educators. I've also had the honor to serve as the external examiner for the University of Bahrain's accredited provision. I'm ecstatic about this Gulf Fellowship Network, and I believe that it will serve as a means of tremendous support to higher education practitioners in the Gulf, really in the sense that it will serve to foster a community of practice, promoting effective teaching, inclusive teaching, and learning. I wish to thank Advanced HE for inviting me to attend the launch of the Gulf Fellowship Network and to take part in the panel discussion among other esteemed panelists today who are seasoned in supporting teaching and learning at their institutions. Thank you. Over to you, Kara.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mahinour, Dr. Amal, and Dr. Ola for your introductions and your contributions. I think everyone here will agree that we have some very distinguished guests with fantastic experience as practitioners and leaders in the higher education sector in their own countries and in the wider region. So I think we should get started and hear what they have to say. So in terms of moving forward with our panel session, I'll start with an easy one, if that's all right, and ask just on a personal level, what led you to pursue Advanced HE Fellowship? What did it offer to you? So Dr. Ola, you were last to speak. I'll maybe ask you to answer this one first and we can work backwards again.
Absolutely, and with utmost pleasure, Kara. Thank you very much. It's a very, very important question, and thank you for asking it. I have to start with saying that I've been in higher education for many years, and my passion for teaching and learning has been really something which I initially got to realize about myself and my own students more than 2 decades ago. And being part of a learning environment where I'm really privileged to steer and facilitate learning has always been one of my happiest moments, I have to say. So it is safe to say that my passion for teaching and learning has always been the driving force in my career. And I've always believed that effective pedagogy can truly transform lives. And I'm constantly seeking ways to grow in the field of teaching and learning and grow in ways where I'm specifically better able to support my colleagues in their teaching and learning journey. So that's what initially drew me to pursue the Advanced HE Senior Fellowship. And since PNU was a member institution of Advanced HE, something, again, that I'm very incredibly proud of, I was privileged to get introduced to the Professional Standards Framework, the PSF. And I was convinced that what I have been doing all over the years and continue to do is really in line with the standards of senior fellowship. So, and really the prospect of international recognition of my practice was very appealing to me, as I'm sure it is to others. The senior fellowship demonstrates a commitment to excellence in teaching and learning. And it's a credential respected by institutions worldwide. And that not only helped validate my approaches in teaching and learning, but it also opened doors for future collaborations and leadership opportunities. I have to say, I'm very happy to have taken the step of achieving senior fellowship, as it really offered me a lot. It was a sort of a unique combination between, it being an external recognition, also something that has caused a lot of internal growth in many ways. It offered me growth on many levels. My teaching and learning perspectives were cemented. My teaching and learning values were developed and strengthened. My approach towards teaching and learning was enhanced in the sense that I became very reflective, constantly aiming at measuring and achieving impact. So impact was always the end in mind in anything that I designed and implemented. I'll end by saying that fellowship was really valuable as a credential and a growth opportunity for me, which has also helped me demonstrate my dedication to and commitment to continuous improvement in teaching and learning.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Ola. And I think it's interesting that while that introduction was at an institutional level with the professional standards framework and aligning with that community of practice, that there's very much that individual experience of the reflective process and that validation of your experience and skills leading to your kind of personal and professional growth opportunities, and that validation being external as well as internal. So Dr. Amal, would you like to add anything to that?
I would totally agree with Dr. Ola. After that years of experience being in the higher education, I think I'd be very straightforward in answering your question, Kira, because the decision to pursue my fellowship was actually motivated by several factors. Mainly, I would say the international recognition and the badge that we're receiving on our teaching practice, that affirming our commitment to the excellence in higher education, as Dr. Ola mentioned, and the testimonials associated with the fellowship added also a mark of distinction to my professional identity, which I'm always proud of, and I'm keeping that on my email signature. So it shows how we are committed to the teaching and learning. Additionally, the progression to the senior fellowship offered a structured opportunity to reflect and further develop my leadership and mentoring skills within the academic community. I would say that this journey, because from my background in the information technology, so this journey also allowed me to deepen my understanding of the pedagogical theories and the practices, enriching my teaching approach and fostering, let me say, a more dynamic and responsive learning environment. The reflective practice involved in the fellowship application provided a very valued and insights into my teaching philosophy and how can I further enhance my effectiveness as an educator. I would end now saying like exactly what's going on while you are writing your application, match the Simon theory about the golden circle, what, how, and most importantly, why, because we are caring about the impact. And this where I totally agree with Dr. Ola. Impact is the most important thing for any educator because we are influencing new generations that are coming on. So I think this is from my side. Thank you, Kira.
Thank you, Dr. Ola. And I think it says a lot about your personality and your character, that part of your personal motivation here was also, to support other people, that ambition to become a mentor, and the responsibility of that you felt you needed to really further your understanding of pedagogy and practice and scholarship, and that would really enhance your ability to support the staff in your institution. And you mentioned those post-nominal letters as well. If there's anybody who's new to the idea of fellowship, I just want to expand on that a little bit. So you may see with colleagues, with people that you're engaging with in the sector, if they have AF or PF or SFHEA. It originated from one of our legacy organisations, the Higher Education Academy, which you might have already heard of. And this post-nominal, those letters, they follow you for life, no matter where you go, what you do. There's a lifetime award. And as Dr. Amal said, it's that sort of international recognition to validate your practice. And Dr. Mahinour, anything you would like to add to wrap up our first question?
Yes, very shortly. For like Dr. Ali and Dr. Amal, they had this internal motivation. For me, it's totally different. It was sort of a mandate. And yeah, my institution like had a memorandum of understanding with Advanced HE back in 2012 to support emeritisation. We hired more than 100 faculty members, and we wanted to have a program and support them to get their associate fellowship. So leading this initiative, there was no choice except for me to take the senior fellowship. And for me, tell you the truth, it was like torturing. I have an IT background, so I said this to Kira before, I have the zeros and ones, so don't tell me write a reflective narrative. No, I don't know it that way. So it took from me some time to understand the concept and start writing my application. But the more I got into the process, the more I understand and appreciated and looked differently at the things that I have accomplished in my career. And honestly, the process is amazing. It gives you a chance to pause and reflect and see, why did I do it the way I did it backward? Is it good? Is it bad? How does it look like in the future? So it was a very rewarding experience, although it started with a mandate and I hated my life doing it earlier, but I'm really, really grateful for the experience. And look where I am now. I'm launching a network to support everyone who is interested to get their fellowship and share best practices. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Dr. Mahinour. I love your honest, candid response there, and I'm glad that we grew on you eventually. And that's something as well. Christian mentioned at the start, there are various routes to fellowship. It might be an individual pursuit and you're applying independently, might be part of an institutional ambition. And you mentioned there, Dr. Mahinour, the emeterization of strategic objectives of your institution. And in those sorts of situations where there's lots of different backgrounds, very international staff bases, things like that, it can be a way at an institutional level to sort of standardize that community of practice at the institution. I'm delighted to hear that you're now seeing things in more than zeros and ones from your IT background. So that's great. Thank you so much for all of your contributions to that question. I definitely feel quite inspired by your ambitions and your what led you to pursue this, and that's connected us all today. So obviously that's kind of what the fellowship award itself was offering to you. What about actually, the journey towards achieving that award and getting there? Can you reflect a little bit on that process for us? So I'll maybe jump back to Dr. Ola again.
Of course. Okay, the journey. Wow, an incredible journey, I have to say, Kara. It was really preparing for the application itself that was incredibly rewarding. And everything that I'll be saying here, I'll be speaking from many of my colleagues who share the same thoughts and feelings. And I can see a lot of names from PNU attending with us today. I'm sure that I'll be speaking on their behalf. The journey encouraged a lot of deep reflection on my teaching philosophy and its impact on students. Developing a strong case study, again, pushed me to analyze my successes, identify my areas of further growth. So I feel like the entire experience has been a catalyst for significant professional development. It was, again, the journey was incredibly rewarding on a personal and a professional level. The Professional Standards Framework, the PSF, and its dimensions provided a very, very valuable framework for reflection. And it wasn't just about preparing an application. It was certainly a chance to truly delve into my values and principles as a higher education practitioner. And if I may add, the process also served as a much needed self-assessment. So by mapping my practice against the Professional Standards Framework, I gained valuable insights into the effectiveness of my teaching and learning strategies. It also promoted me to reflect on the values that I embody in my role. I was you know, it was a great opportunity for me to start talking about the values that I embody day to day. And this sort of introspection allowed me to really recognize and articulate the impact that I had on others' teaching and learning practices. Now, when it came to writing the application itself, it wasn't really just about ticking boxes, but it was really more of a process of solidification. As I documented my experiences, it further ingrained the values and principles that guided my philosophy in teaching and learning. And the framework's emphasis, for example, on equality of opportunity for learning, using evidence-based approaches, all these, you know, they were a basis for practice. And really, it made those values even more central to my philosophy. So overall, just to sum up the journey towards achieving my senior fellowship was far more than just obtaining a credential. It was a transformative experience in its totality, which allowed me to really refine my practice, solidify my values, and ultimately just become a more impactful educator.
That's a fantastic answer, Dr. Ola. Thank you so much. I love that you referred to it as a self-assessment. I think no matter what sector or industry you work in, you're always thinking about, what am I achieving? What's next? What do I need to get to? You know, measuring against key performance indicators and targets and, you know, all of these things. And you might have regular meetings and reviews with colleagues and you know, senior leadership, but it's not often you have the chance to really look inward and ask yourself, what do I do and why do I do that? And what does that say about me as a person and as a professional? And how can I take that forward to build on it and harness it and maybe add to it? And this idea as well that, you know, that this application isn't a tick box form, you know, it's very much that, as you said, it's a solidification then of those values and principles. So thank you. I think that was a really compelling answer. Thank you for that. Dr. Mahinour, anything you would like to add to that on your experience of the journey towards achieving your fellowship?
I 100% agree with Dr. Ola. It was a very rewarding experience, honestly. And the word transformational journey, it's not only heard from us, but also from the faculty that we are supporting and coaching and guiding. So interestingly, this morning, I released the decisions for our 11th cohort at my institution. And I got an email from one of the faculty members. She teaches health sciences. And she said at the beginning, when she started writing her application, she thought it's okay. It's just like a Word document. I'm going to write some information about what I'm doing. But now, after completing it, she sees how transformational it did to her own practice. So she said, now every time I'm in the classroom, I start thinking, and I remember your words, what you used to tell me when you were coaching me. And I start reflecting and asking myself why I'm doing it this way. Is there a better way? Do all the students understand what I'm talking about? So it develops this reflective practitioner skill, if you will. So you start asking yourself always. And as I mentioned earlier, it gives you like a moment to pause and think about your practices. Are these good? Should I keep them? Should I change them? Should I replace them? Or what's next? Rather than taking things for granted. So definitely it was a transformational journey.
Thank you, Dr. Mahinour. That's a fantastic testimonial from your coaching as well. And I think it's, you know, it's important as well what you added there about, you know, what is working, what do I keep, what can I add to, and what might I consider replacing or enhancing or doing differently in future. And it's interesting that, you know, you've used that word sort of transformational, and Dr. Ola mentioned that it was a catalyst. It sort of really changes how you approach your whole practice. So thank you both for your contributions there. I am conscious of time, so I might move on to the next question and start with Dr. Amal, if that's okay. So the next one that I have then is, okay, we've established what this award meant to you. You know, what was the experience like in you know, the journey towards it? And I suppose then the next logical question is, what has the impact been on you personally, both in terms of your practice, which you've mentioned, you know, already in your answers and in your approaches or your kind of principles, but also in terms of possibly your career trajectory in your own institution or in the sector. So Dr. Amal, would you like to start with this one?
Yes, sure, Kira. Thank you. Actually, the fellowship and later progression to the senior fellowship had a very significant influence both in my career route and my teaching and learning practice. I would say professionally, it has provided a validation of my expertise in higher education, enhancing my profile and creating avenues for career advancement. In addition, the progression to the senior fellowship has empowered me to further develop my leadership and mentoring skills or coaching skills, as Dr. Mahinour mentioned, within my academic community, because I'm meeting with a lot of colleagues and fellows from different fields and experience. But I think the fellowship is giving us the opportunity to inspire each other, to discuss different teaching methods and to reflect on how and why. And that helps a lot in positioning myself as a leader in the academic provision. For example, I have headed and coordinated, for example, the development and the implementation of a very comprehensive operational plan for the unit of teaching excellence and leadership. And that was aligned with the institutional strategy for sure. This leading to a very collaborative effort with, it was actually with my team. We identified the key areas of the improvement, think about how this strategy would enhance the quality of teaching and learning across the university, and on board also coordinating workshops, training sessions to support our faculty members and to equip them with the essentials and trendy skills relevant to the teaching practice and the teaching and learning practice in the higher education. And this capacity building, I have successfully supported and mentored some colleagues by fostering the collaboration among the team, and we're able to develop and deliver very impactful professional development opportunities for our faculty members. That enhanced over the overall quality of the teaching and learning practice in my institute. So I think we do have a very good impact on the institute quality level. Thank you, Kira. I'll leave now my Dr. Ola and Dr. Mahinour. Maybe they want to add into this as well.
Thank you, Dr. Amal. That's a fantastic answer. I love the fact that, not only has that, validated your experience and skills in contributing to institutional policy and strategic development around the teaching and learning practice, but also then in your training and support of other colleagues and enhancing their professional development opportunities in turn, I think is a really wonderful kind of domino effect of the fellowship. Dr. Mahinour, anything you'd like to add to that question in terms of that impact for you, your fellowship?
Yeah, just one extra thing is that I think one of the things that the PSF did is it set like a sort of benchmark for effective teaching and learning practices. It's general and specific at the same time. It's applicable in different contexts, different scenarios, different disciplines. So it has the flexibility and scalability to be working in a classroom or as an institution level. So right now, I think what I call is that we have the fellowship language at HCT. We have the PSF language. So we all have this common understanding of how it looks like to a great extent. Also, as part of the institution, like what the institution has been doing into supporting that we have aligned all our professional development courses with the professional standards framework. So to make sure that we are addressing the key elements of the professional standards framework. It has also been aligned with the classroom observation. So our classroom observation now is based on the professional standards framework. So it's all, as you can see, it's like a holistic solution. And also another initiative, or it's not an initiative now because it has been there for a while. It's that part of our faculty promotion. So getting any recognition of the advanced HE, whether it's an associate fellow, senior fellow, or principal fellow, it's part of our promotion policy.
It's really interesting to know. Thank you, Dr. Mahinour. And it's interesting that you mentioned that sort of flexibility and the scalability. It can come into play at all levels of professionals in the higher education sector, and that also includes professional services and staff who might work in libraries or lab technicians who also support the teaching and learning experience in another way, and they're also able to validate their experience and skills through the fellowship scheme as well. And you talked about the fellowship language at the institution, and as you say, it's that sort of among all those different stakeholders in the learning experience and in the practice, that there's that shared point of reference to kind of shape and develop those conversations. So it's really interesting that you mentioned that. And Dr. Ola, anything to add there for the fellowship, the impact on yourself or indeed at your institution?
I'm aware that you may have a lot of other questions, so I'm just going to add something very quickly. I second everything that Dr. Amal and Dr. Mahinour had mentioned, and I just want to add that it has really allowed us to incorporate those beautiful standards and values in the PSF into so many of the initiatives that we have carried out at PNU. We have launched an initiative which was called Candid Conversations in Teaching and Learning, where we go to the different colleges, we discuss with them, we talk about the challenges, the standards, effective practice. Again, that initiative was really guided, and it was aligned with the values and the standards of the PSF. We've also recently launched a teaching and learning strategy at Princess Nourah University. Just last week, it was launched in an event, and it was online. And I have to say that we ensured that among the standards and the content that we included in the teaching and learning strategies were many of the values and the standards that were mentioned in the PSF. So you can tell that the impact is quite large.
Fantastic, thank you. I love that idea of the Candid Conversations initiative, and I think that's something that we could benefit from in all our sectors, that these conversations are live, they're moving, it's not a static concept. And actually, you're right, I did have a couple of questions left, but actually you've nearly answered my next one in your answers there, where I was thinking about separating out, the individual impact of fellowship for yourselves, but then also that wider institutional. But I suppose really in your answers, it's really demonstrated that, your individual impact is part of the wider institutional impact, and that sort of is integral to that presence of that community of practice. So I suppose maybe what I'll do is I'll change that question a little bit, the next one, and maybe whether there's any sort of tangible difference that you've noticed in your institution in terms of, benchmarks. So you've talked about these communities of practice, the conversation that has started around the PSF and the presence of fellowship in your institution. In terms of those kind of key markers, have there been examples in your institutions where you've noticed improvements in, for example, staff or student satisfaction, retention, those sorts of things, influence on, the profile of your institution in that respect? And there's no need for all of you to answer there, but just I'd be keen to hear whether there are any examples in that respect.
Would you allow me, Kira, please?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Talking about my university, I think that has a very good and positive impact on our community of practice, because we have done 2 years ago, there was a study on the fellows, the colleagues that receiving their fellowship, and how that impact their teaching practice. So we had collaborated with the Quality Center to check the student evaluation at the end of the semester and how that was impacted after receiving the fellowship. And actually it shows a very good results, like some of our colleagues, they have been improved by the say of their students, so that they have good and a better impact on their classes using different teaching methodologies. So I think doing that study shows that we need to continue in this improvement of the teaching and learning practice in my institute. And also it gives an opportunity, because we're talking about the community of practice here. Also, it gives an opportunity for the faculty members to utilize all of the advanced HE resources. And for example, talk about the Connect portal, which can serve as a hub for them for sharing their best practices, not to be only with us at the unit here at the University of Bahrain, but also sharing their thoughts, insights, and their practices in a larger community. And that gives them also a good opportunity in the higher education to exchange their ideas with the others. And also adding into that one more thing, that the BSF sometimes reflecting and writing your application through the fellowship journey could give you, as my colleague Dr. Ola mentioned earlier, to pause and think and to reflect. Sometimes personally, as an educator, sometimes we immerse into the teaching and we forget the other maybe areas of our practice as a researcher, or maybe looking into our own development. So writing your application, it would pinpoint the areas where you have missed things. So always reflecting and checking what you are doing and how you are doing it, and why you are doing maybe more here, less there. It will give you an opportunity to improve yourself in the higher education.
Thank you, Dr. Amal. It's interesting, that there's you mentioned obviously that sort of survey around the quality and the improvement in the perception of some of the methodologies and approaches of the teaching staff through going through this process, but also not even just through the fellowship process, but also through wider membership benefits at an institutional level, the impact that that access to resources and publications, those forums, and exploring other areas of personal scholarship that can really help to add to that whole process. So thank you very much. What I'm going to do is wrap up the panel session with one final question and allow you all a quick fire 30-second to 1 minute response in terms of with the audience that we have here today. We've mentioned that they're from a range of different backgrounds and circumstances, and they're coming towards fellowship. What would you say to individuals here who are possibly considering pursuing fellowship personally or at an institutional level, if they're possibly leaders that are here today considering embedding this to their university? So I'll do a quick fire round, and then I'll pick a couple of questions from the chat to ask you before we wrap up our session. So I'll start again with Dr. Mahinour.
Thank you, Kira. So I would say, the application process, whether you are going for associate fellow, senior fellow, or principal fellow, the process itself, it's different, but it's not difficult. I know for most of us, like being reflective and writing a reflective narrative is not something very common. We can write publications, academic research, but when it comes on reflecting in the own practice, it's a bit challenging. But at the end, I promise you, it's a very, very rewarding experience. You will be surprised with the things that you have done and accomplished through your entire career that you didn't even recognize that you have done all of these. For those who are starting or in their early career academics, the PSF set a benchmark, as I mentioned, that helps you to develop and enhance your teaching and learning practices. So it's a win-win situation, whether you have the expertise or you are still developing and enhancing your skills. On an institutional level, definitely, again, as I mentioned earlier, it's good to have like a common language across the institution. And the PSF help in creating this common language, in understanding why we are doing things the way we are doing it, and why should we do it differently, or why should we keep it the way it is. To you, Dr. Ola.
Of course, and I was more of waiting for that question, Kara. So from this platform, I wholeheartedly encourage any higher education practitioner to attain their fellowship with Advanced HE. I guarantee, and I say that out of personal experience, attaining fellowship is a transformative journey, and it is a process of deep reflection and also refinement of teaching and learning practices. Attaining fellowship will help you definitely elevate your practice, and the PSF will provide you with a very clear and comprehensive framework to assess your current approaches in teaching and learning. Not to forget that fellowship demonstrates commitment and expertise, so it will really signify your dedication to excellence in teaching and learning. It will unlock new opportunities for you. It can open doors to some very exciting career advancements and collaborations. So if you're passionate about teaching and learning, fellowship is definitely an investment that is worth making. It's a journey of self-discovery and growth, as I had mentioned earlier, that will leave a very lasting positive impact on your career. And if you can allow me, Kara, to also comment on an institutional level, and again, I speak out of personal experience at PNU, integrating the PSF into an institution's teaching and learning framework can be a game changer. We have seen how it empowered educators. And again, as Dr. Mahinour said, a shared language, a common language, and a framework for professional development. And it does foster a culture of reflection and improvement, allowing all higher education practitioners to really spot and identify their areas of strength and opportunities for growth. It will also enhance student learning. So when an institution aligns its teaching and learning practices with the PSF, what they're doing here is that they're really ensuring that there is a focus on key essential areas like effective teaching, inclusive teaching, effective assessment, student engagement, and this will ultimately translate to a more enriching and effective learning experience for students. Now, not to forget also that it promotes staff development. The PSF does really provide a clear roadmap for staff development programs. So embedding the professional standards framework isn't just about individual development or individual faculty members developing, but it's really about creating a culture of excellence in teaching and learning across an institution. And it also sends a strong message about your institution in terms of its commitment to providing students with the best possible educational experience. So on a final note, I'd say that by adopting the PSF, an institution is really investing in the future of their faculty and ultimately the success of their own students.
Thank you, Dr. Ola. And Dr. Amal, anything you would like to add there?
Maybe I'll just talk about the individual level, because I would totally agree with Dr. Ala when she mentioned about creating a culture at the institutional level. For the individuals considering the fellowship, I would emphasize here the importance of the mentorship and being part of a supportive community. The fellowship journey can be challenging, as Dr. Mahinour mentioned, for some colleagues, but the rewards in terms of professional growth and their recognition is huge. I would also highlight the extensive support that's available through the Advanced HE, including resources and guidance throughout the application process. It is an opportunity to join through the fellowship. It would be an opportunity for any educator to join a global community of educators that are dedicated to the innovation and excellence in teaching and learning. Through the fellowship also, you will uncover the new insights of yourself, connect with the like-minded professionals, and elevate your teaching practice to a new heights. To sum up, fellowship with the Advanced HE and the knowledge about the PSF would inspire everyone to reach higher, to excel, and to transform the student lives that we have in our institute. Thank you, Kira.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful to hear from all of you, whether that's, you know, at an individual perspective or at a wider institutional level. And I suppose the kind of common thread there is that there is a commitment here, but the return on investment is worth it, is really what I've kind of gathered from those three answers. And I just want to take the opportunity now to thank all three of you for your contributions and your time today. Your sharing your thoughts and your experiences has been absolutely inspiring. It's given me a real boost in what I'm doing as well, and working on these partnerships, and they've been so well articulated as well, I have to say. So I really appreciate the time that you've given to sharing those with our guests today. Now, I am conscious that we are short of time and people may have other commitments past the hour. I would like to thank my colleague Tom, who has been chipping away in the background, answering a lot of questions in the chat. So what I might do is actually skip the allocation for the Q&A with the panel, because many of those have been answered already. One interesting one was about kind of when is the right time to move between, for example, fellowship and senior fellowship. And I would suggest for anyone considering that to start with our fellowship category tool. If you just Google that, there's a 5 to 10 minute questionnaire, multiple choice. And when you fill that out, it will give you a pie chart of where your answers fit in the categories. And if it's overwhelmingly, senior fellowship, then you'll know that it's the right time to start considering that next move. There are also a few questions about the practical process of the application, the referees, what mentorship is available. And I think then that leads me really nicely into our final section of the session today with my colleague, Dr. Mahinour, to tell you a little bit about the support and the networks that are now going to be available to you in the Gulf region, including a follow-up event on this one today, which will answer some of those questions that are also appearing in the chat and really kind of help you with those next steps. So Dr. Mahinour, I can hand over to you if you'd like to introduce some of these new exciting initiatives.
Sure. Thank you, Kira. So again, I'm so delighted to be here. And as the founder of the Advanced HEE Gulf Regional Fellowship Network, I'm really thrilled to welcome you to the official launch of the network. So I would like to share with you the inspiration behind this network. I have coached more than 500 faculty to develop their advanced HEE applications. In this capacity, I have been privileged to witness incredible teaching practices, success stories, and innovative learning activities. During these one-to-one coaching sessions, I realized that many of these success stories and diverse discipline-specific learning activities rarely cross the doors of the individual classrooms, which is a shame. So this realization made me to start a small internal community of practice within my institution on Yammer, which was very well received. It then occurred to me that if this is the case in my institution, so most probably it's likely the same in others. That was my aha moment, and I began working quietly on the idea of this network. So the Advanced HEE Gulf Regional Fellowship Network was created mainly with a very clear purpose in mind, which is to foster a vibrant community of educators who are really passionate about teaching excellence and committed to continuous professional development. So my vision was to create this supportive community, safe community, where recognized fellows, aspiring fellows, and educators in various roles can come together to share insights and best practices. So if you join the network, you will be, or you will have access to a lot of benefits, of course. So first is the networking opportunity that you will be connecting with like-minded professionals who are interested and dedicated to teaching and learning. We will be hosting a lot of webinars and workshops covering a range of topics from innovation teaching methods to effective leadership in academia. And I think this will, most of you will be interested in this, which is the peer mentoring programs. So we have opportunities to receive guidance and support from experienced fellows as you work towards completing your fellowship goals, whether it's an associate fellow, senior fellow, or principal fellow. An added bonus to the group is that I will be providing Arabic support mainly for this area, because I have worked with a lot of faculty members who have limited English proficiency, those who are teaching Arabic and Emirati studies, or even teaching other courses. So I would like to support those educators as well in achieving their not only in achieving their fellowships, but only in enhancing and their teaching and learning practice. So there will be guidance in Arabic on writing the fellowship, and also sessions in Arabic related to pedagogy and teaching and learning. Another aspect of the network is that a subgroup of the network is the UAE Senior and Principal Fellowship Network, which will be led by Dr. Heather. This is a subgroup where only senior fellowships and principal fellowships can show interest to join the group. And under the supervision of Dr. Heather, they will be working together in having a representation from each institution and having some extra activities together. So just keep an eye on all the details on the workshop, on the network group. The upcoming events, we have the first session or the first event, which is Host Your Teaching Expertise, and this is a guide to Advanced HE Fellowship. During this session, I will be walking you through the PSF, the newly released PSF 2023, and the different recognitions, which recognition works best for you and how it could advance your teaching practice. So this will be on June 26th, and Kira will be sharing the joining link, registration link. Another event that we are planning for is a symposium. This will take place in May 2025, inshallah, and it's a Fellowship in Action Symposium. And what I have in mind is that it will be like a showcase of your impactful initiative and sharing your best practices and experience. So to get involved in the network, simply is just you join the LinkedIn group. It's open for everyone, all educators in the Gulf mainly. So you can start by participating in discussions, sharing best practices. Even if you would like to contribute to the network, please feel free to get in touch with me. I think that's it. So at the end, I would like to thank Advanced HE for endorsing and supporting the network. I'm so grateful for this. And thank you all for being here today and for your commitment to advancing the higher education in the Gulf region. Thank you. See you, Kira.
Thanks so much, Dr. Mahinour. And yes, just to reiterate those points, the links are all in the chat. To join the LinkedIn Gulf Fellowship Network, which is open to all here today. To join the next Fellowship Network event run by Dr. Mahinour in a few weeks to go into a little bit more further detail about the professional standards framework and the fellowship scheme. And also then for the senior and principal fellowship networks at a national level, whether you're interested in joining the UAE, one that is established, as we mentioned, in collaboration with Dr. Heather Jeffrey, who's here from the University of Birmingham, Dubai. Hello, it's lovely to see you. And if you wish to also launch a similar network in your own country within the Gulf region, we'd be more than happy to support those subgroups as well to support shaping those conversations at a national level. They are all going to be shared as well in a follow-up email that you'll receive after the event to make sure that you have all the resources at your disposal. There will be a recording from this event if you'd like to go back. If you've missed any parts or you'd like to revisit any of the sections, that will be shared with you as well. And there will also be a feedback survey on the event. We would be delighted to hear your thoughts on our first event, as Christian mentioned at the start, one that we hope will be the first of many going forward. And you're more than welcome to contribute to that conversation and share what you'd like to see from us and these networks going forward to help shape their development over the coming months. So we look forward to seeing you at those future events, both online and in person. And once again, just a massive thank you to all our contributions today from our panelists, Dr. Mahinour, Dr. Amal, and Dr. Ola. Thank you so much, and to everyone who has attended and given their time today and contributed to the conversation in the chat. Thank you, and I wish you a very good afternoon and evening wherever you are, and looking forward to hearing from you again soon. Thank you.